Marilyn's many loves. It's no secret that Marilyn Monroe had many loves throughout her life. From married directors to legendary crooners, it seems that Monroe was attached to many A-list names throughout her life. But between, and sometimes even during her marriages, there were many scandalous affairs, and not just with men either. So let's dive into every romance or fling that this iconic star was ever involved in. First man on this list is James Dougherty. Before Marilyn Monroe was a star, before she was even known by the name of Marilyn Monroe, she was Norma Jean Mortensen, and at the tender age of 16 she married her neighbor James Dougherty, who was a simple factory worker and 6 years older than her. But it was no love story. Their union had come about at the arrangement of Marilyn Monroe's foster mother at the time. This was because the company that employed her foster father relocated him to West Virginia. Because California child protection laws prevented the Goddards from taking the teenage Marilyn out of state, she faced the harrowing possibility of having to return to the dreaded orphanage she had previously lived in. By 16, Norma Jean dropped out of high school and married her neighbor Jimmy Dougherty just to escape the orphanage. Girlie was basically playing house to survive. According to Marilyn herself, she and Dougherty were badly mismatched, and later said she was dying of boredom during the marriage. During World War II, Jimmy joined the Merchant Marines. Because he left for that, she began modeling and their marriage fell apart after only 4 years. In an interview, Jimmy ended up telling People magazine in 1976 that, if I hadn't gone into the Merchant Marines during World War II, she would still be Mrs. Dougherty today. They officially divorced in 1946. Number 2. Elia Kazan. Marilyn briefly had a relationship with the director Elia Kazan while he was married, just a year after she divorced Jimmy, and wasn't yet that famous. In unearthed letters per People magazine, he said, "I'm not sorry about it. I'm not ashamed at all, not a damn bit, of having been attracted to her. She is nothing like what she appears to be now, or even appears to have turned into now. She was a little stray cat when I knew her." Number 3. Charlie Chaplin Jr. Rumor has it that Monroe had an affair with the legendary Charlie Chaplin's son, Charlie Jr., in 1947. The relationship allegedly ended when Charlie caught Marilyn in his brother Sidney's bed. He more or less confirmed all of this in his autobiography My Father, Charlie Chaplin. Anthony Summers also mentions the relationship in his book Goddess, The Secret Lives of Marilyn Monroe. The romance was also explored in Blonde, 2022, starring Ana de Armas in an Oscar-nominated role as Monroe, based on Joyce Carol Oates' 2000 novel of the same name. Although unconfirmed, the film depicted Monroe in a three-way relationship with Charlie and Edward Eddie G. Robinson Jr. Number 4. Natasha Lytess. Monroe met Natasha Lytess, her beloved drama coach, when she signed a short contract with Columbia Pictures in 1948. The duo would become nearly inseparable on and off set over the next 7 years, sparking rumors of a relationship. The actress' dependence on Lytess grew so intense that she began refusing to film scenes without her coach nearby. The speculation continued when Monroe moved into Lytess' home to prepare for her role in Don't Bother to Knock. While the nature of their relationship remained a mystery, Lytess was openly hostile to Monroe's male suitors, especially Joe DiMaggio. "She was a great teacher, but she got really jealous about the men I saw. She thought she was my husband," Monroe once said of her teacher, with whom she eventually parted ways in 1956. Number 5. Jerry Lewis. Former My Friend Irma co-stars Jerry Lewis and Marilyn Monroe had a lot of rumors flying around as well, with fans wondering if the two had something going on. Lewis somewhat confirmed they had a brief relationship in a 2011 candid interview with GQ. Not only did he claim that he had an affair with her, he disputed the long-held belief that she was ever involved with the Kennedy brothers, saying, "I'm telling you what I know. Never. And the only reason I know is because I did." Okay. When the interviewer reacted with disbelief, Lewis assured the story was true, saying that Monroe used bedroom sport like he used humor. She needed that contact to be sure it was real. When asked what the affair was like, he had this to say: "It was long. I was crippled for a month." After another pause, he quipped, "And I thought Marlene Dietrich was great. Number 6. Milton Berle. Milton Berle and Marilyn met on the set of Ladies of the Chorus in 1948 and worked together again in 1960 for Let's Make Love. He confirmed the two had an affair on set while he was dating Adele Jurgens. In his self-titled autobiography, he said, "Marilyn was on the climb in Hollywood, but there was nothing cheap about her. She wasn't one of the starlets around town that you put one meal into and threw into the sack. Maybe she didn't know exactly who she was, but she knew she was worth something. She had respect for herself. Marilyn was a lady." Number 7. Tony Curtis. Monroe enchanted nearly every man and woman she met, but Tony Curtis was reportedly unimpressed with her in 1958. Rumors have long circulated that Monroe and her illustrious co-star despised one another on the set of Some Like It Hot. They would not be the first co-stars to harbor animosity toward one another, and they most certainly would not be the last. Curtis even implied that kissing Monroe was the equivalent of kissing a certain World War II villain whose name rhymes with Schittler. Naturally, the sentiment was heinous. Was this true, or was Curtis attempting to conceal an affair? To be sure, it appears to be the latter, as the American actor reveals in his 2009 memoirs that he had a passionate love story with Marilyn in the early 1950s. A few years later, the two lovers co-starred in Some Like It Hot, concealing their relationship. Tony Curtis even admitted to being the father of the child the icon was expecting during the shooting, which she lost during her umpteenth miscarriage. Number 8. Joe DiMaggio. One of the most iconic and toxic Hollywood romances of the Golden Age was undeniably Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. They met back in 1952 through a friend of DiMaggio's, hitting it off soon after. They dated for 2 years before tying the knot in San Francisco in 1954 and honeymooning in Japan. However, their love was a rocky one and marital bliss didn't last long. Only 9 months later, they divorced, which shocked fans everywhere. DiMaggio was uncomfortable with Monroe's sex symbol status, wanting her to be a more motherly figure and become a stay-at-home wife. But Monroe wanted both a family and a career. When she filmed the iconic subway grate scene in The 7-Year Itch, the one where her dress flies up, Joe absolutely lost it. He said that Monroe exposing her legs and thighs, even her crotch, was the last straw. Despite all this, they remained good friends after their divorce. And when Marilyn was no more, Joe not only did her funeral arrangements personally, he was the only one of her ex-husbands to attend her funeral, and along with that, he faithfully sent roses to her grave 3 times a week, every week, until his own permanent sleep came. Number 9. Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller and Marilyn met through their mutual friend and Marilyn's former lover Elia Kazan. Despite Miller being married, the two fell for each other quickly and started an affair, marrying soon after his divorce in 1956. But their relationship began to fall apart while filming The Misfits, with him being a harsh director. She noted in her diary, saying per Vanity Fair, "I still feel hopeless. I think I hate it here because there is no love here anymore," and soon after, they divorced in August 1962 after 5 years of marriage. Number 10. Yul Brynner. Rumors swirled that Yul Brynner, the actor that is known for his famous roles in The King and I, Westworld, and The Magnificent Seven, had an affair with Marilyn Monroe in 1957, a time when she was still very much married to Arthur Miller. For a long time there was no definitive proof of the affair, but Yul Brynner's son later confirmed the affair. According to Brynner's son's autobiography, his father and Marilyn had a secret fling, though it might have been a one-night stand. Number 11. Marlon Brando. Perhaps the two most famous actors of their generation, Monroe and Marlon Brando were rumored to have briefly dated in 1955, after her divorce from DiMaggio and before her relationship with Miller. Brando escorted Monroe to the premiere of The Rose Tattoo, and the two remained friendly until the end of her life. In February 1961, the actor would even write an affectionate letter to his friend, before retiring to a New York psychiatric facility. Number 12. Frank Sinatra. The blonde bombshell and old blue eyes briefly dated after her divorce from Miller. After her split from the playwright, Monroe stayed at Frank Sinatra's house for a time after moving back to Los Angeles. The romance cooled off by 1961 when the crooner proposed to Juliette Prowse, but the two remained friends until the end of her life. Number 13. The Kennedy brothers. Monroe's most infamous rumored affairs were with former President John F. Kennedy and later his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. Some have even suggested that her relationship with the two men played a role in her untimely parting. Rumors of an affair were spurred in part by her sultry, "Happy Birthday" performance for the Commander-in-Chief at his 45th birthday celebration at Madison Square Garden on May 19, 1962, just months before her death. Monroe biographer James Spada told People in 2012 that while he doesn't believe there's any proof that the Kennedys were responsible for Monroe's permanent sleep, it was pretty clear that Marilyn had had intimate relations with both Bobby and Jack. Number 14. Yves Montand. Many wondered if former Let's Make Love co-stars Yves Montand and Marilyn Monroe had something going on behind the scenes. He later confirmed that they had an affair while filming the 1960 hit film, despite Montand being married to French icon Simone Signoret. There were also rumors Monroe carried his baby at one point, but this part of the rumor is hard to confirm. Faced with the growing feelings that Marilyn was developing for him, the actor made the decision to end the relationship and return to his wife in Paris. In a later interview, Simone admitted that she never harbored any ill will toward Marilyn despite her affair with her husband. Number 15. Nicholas Ray. Marilyn Monroe's affair with director Nicholas Ray remains one of the lesser-known yet intriguing chapters of her life. Two met during the production of the 1952 film Clash by Night, where Ray was the director and Monroe had a supporting role. Their relationship, which reportedly began during filming, was brief but intense, fueled by their shared passion for creativity and their mutual struggles with personal demons. Ray, known for his work on Rebel Without a Cause, was captivated by Monroe's vulnerability and star power, while she found solace in his artistic vision and understanding of her complexities. Though their affair was short-lived, it highlights Monroe's often overlooked desire for intellectual and emotional connections, as well as her tendency to gravitate toward men who could appreciate her beyond her Hollywood persona. Their relationship, like many of Monroe's romances, was a blend of passion and tragedy, reflecting the tumultuous nature of her life and career.